With every movie release, we get a certain length and screen time when the movie comes out. However, that is not the case of what is happening on the set behind the scenes, and all the scenes that are filmed, but unfortunately deleted for various reasons. Today, we have Black Panther on the lookout. The movie was supposed to be 4 hours long, and we only got 2 hours and 15 minutes of screen time. And we will dive in to the deleted scene that never came with the movie in the first place. Number 1. The Impact of Njobo death on T'Chaka and Tchalla. Before we begin, we have to say that there are some spoilers while we try to provide you with the content of this video, and the things we will say in order to give you the ultimate knowledge on this segment. So, if you haven't seen Black Panther, first, shame on you. It is one hell of a movie, so you should probably watch it if you don't want any spoilers clouding your enjoyment of the movie. Now that this is out of the way, let us begin. The first deleted scene was actually an extended flashback from the beginning of the movie, a very beautiful father-son moment that will warm your heart. A scene set immediately after the death of Prince Njobo. Jumping to Wakanda, we see young T'Challa and Nakia exploring, wandering around in the forbidden catacombs of Necropolis, when suddenly they come across King T'Chaka musing over his brother's death, who spots them and brings his son aside. The scene which follows is a touching moment between the two, and T'Challa expressing his faith in his father and the power represents in him, before saying that he will always be the king of Wakanda. This has to be one of the most surprising scenes that were cut, because we can clearly see that it expresses the core of the movie, the father-son dynamic that was thoroughly explored by both T'Challa and T'Chaka, and Njobo and Killmonger. One of the things that this conversation shows and tries to explain to everyone that between the role of Black Panther and the King of Wakanda, there is a big difference, and they are not connected whatsoever. Yes, they can be the same person, but they don't have to be. And this deleted scene also shows why Nakia had knowledge of the catacombs when the movie was released on the screen. Now, why was this scene cut? As wonderful as it may be, this scene just doesn't fit with the opening. In the official movie, the flashback sequence is actually told through the eyes of the young Killmonger. Indeed, the voiceover telling the tales of Wakanda, which hits those Panther King distinction marks, is actually the voice of his father, Njobo. The omitting of the scene actually makes more sense, since this whole process is seen from the Killmonger's perspective, adding to the fact of his rivalry and why he wants the revenge over the king and the Black Panther alike. Also, the one viewed through T'Challa's eyes would reduce the impact that the opening sequence wanted to provide for us.
You and Nakia are not to play in the catacombs, T'Challa.
I'm sorry, Baba.
T'Challa and Ross before the United Nations speech. From the start, we're jumping all the way to the end of the movie. The final cut scene outside of the original movie that was released is the conversation between T'Challa and the new king of Wakanda, and the Black Panther and Ross, a member of the National Security Agency, a very close friend to Black Panther, an aftermath of all the things they went through in the movie and how they helped each other. The scene is set right before the speech of T'Challa and the United Nations. In this scene, Ross is seen attempting to talk T'Challa out of the announcement. It even reveals that Ross has attempted to learn Wakandan, but failed miserably. It is clear to see that he hasn't quite got it right, at least not yet. Keep on trying, Ross. This scene does not add that much to the narrative outside of just another scene that will extend the movie. It doesn't change that much like the other scenes that were deleted from the movie. And this one is mostly played for the laughs. If this scene was released, it would have just been weird to see it when it comes to the context of the movie. T'Challa's speech is at the end of the movie, and this would presumably take place right before it. Ultimately, director Ryan Coogler decided to move the UN speech to the mid-credits, instead ending Black Panther in a scene set in the baseball courts. Ryan thought that it would have been more powerful symmetry to this if the movie ended in the exact same place where it started, and he was definitely on point with this decision. And after all, this considered the removal of the scene was the right choice, as it would have just been plainly weird.
Well, okay. I'll do my best to keep him off your back.
I will hold you to that, Everett.
Okoye and Ukabis' marriage. According to Michael Shawver, an editor of Black Panther, says that this next one was the most painful scene to cut. It features Okoye, portrayed by Danai Gurira, and Ukabi, portrayed by Daniel Kaluuya, in an intense conversation between the two, set right after Killmonger wins the duel and takes the throne in Wakanda. This scene properly shows the relationship between the two and confirms that they are actually married. And from the conversation, we are able to see the relationship they have, and the revelation of Ukabi persuading Okoye to leave the Dora Milaje in order for the two of them to start a family. Another very distinguished characteristic of the conversation are the motivations Ukabi paints for his siding with Killmonger, and his own sense of betrayal at Tchalla and his handling of Kaluuya pointed out. This scene was so painful to cut, as it shows valuable insights into two key sides of Wakanda's cultural debate, and also the nature of the characters. Meanwhile, the revelation of them considering of starting a family is one that ground Black Panther, in a way that superhero movies are. In this kind of movies, the superheroes are by nature locked in a status quo. Comic book publishers and movie studios are deviating from these types of things, as it is not the formula of success that everyone is used to. But in Black Panther, here that is not the case, as both of them are wrestling with the decision that will interfere with their personal worlds in a way that superhero movies are not even planned to. This shows a character background, and the argument over Killmonger paves the way for Okoye's choice to reject her husband Ukabi. And this alone starts a conflict between the two tribes, the Dora Milaje and the Border Tribe. It adds a haunting note of tragedy to the final battle, while foreshadowing the scene where Okoye stops Ukabi's war rhino. Now, if we are asked, and most of the fans too, this scene should not have been cut, as it provides depth to the characters and makes the final results of the Wakandan Civil War that much more effective. The main reason that this scene got cut by Marvel is that they didn't think it was according to pace with the film. With everything that was happening in Wakanda, this would have been a little bit of a stalemate, and the emotional part of the scene would risk damaging the flow of the film, distracting attention from the focus on T'Challa's fleeing family. Faced with a difficult decision, Marvel ultimately decided to cut the scene with a lot of pain in their chest.
But in the end, it will be beautiful. And Wakanda will stand tall.
T'Challa and Zuri share an emotional memory of the fallen king. The last deleted scene of the Black Panther is a scene right after T'Challa awakens from the heart-shaped herb ceremony, which brings his consciousness into contact with the other side, right after he had shared his final words with the fallen king. When he wakes up, he shares a quiet moment with Zuri, portrayed by Forrest Whitaker, who is not just a shaman, but also a longtime friend of his father. At first, the scene begins with joy on both of their faces. After all, sharing some final moments with a loved one who is now gone forever, even after his or her death, is a very special moment. Everybody who mourned about a person like this can relate. It's a very special memory that not everyone can receive. There is that comfort in reflecting on the departed person's stronger days. T'Challa, with a wonder on his face, says he would watch him his whole life wearing the suit of the Protector, the Black Panther. From the conversation between the two, we can also see how T'Challa inherited that characteristic of a protector, even when his father was still alive, seeing his actions and emotions, everything that led him to what he is now. And of course, as with everything, there is another side of the story. Zuri adding, "He told me he was not too fat to fit the suit." All in all, a very heartwarming and comforting scene for both of them, and the decision of the deletion of the scene was a tough one, with the explanation of not wanting to stray far away from the actual events that are happening at that moment of T'Challa's awakening, and the struggles he has to face, without turning most of the attention to his father, the previous Black Panther and King, but on the present one, an action taken in order to prevent losing focus on the big thing at the moment, not wanting to lose the essence of the state at the given point in time.
I told him not to speak at the UN. He taught me not to trust the outside world.
This is it for today. Thank you for staying with us until the end. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more videos like this in the future.